If you have a 2018 Ford F150, you're probably trying to decide between the OEM halogen reflector headlights or the OEM LED headlights. In this video, we're going to introduce a third option. We're going to give you an overview of the Morimoto XB LED headlight for the 18 and up Ford F150. We're going to show you how it compares to stock and then show you how to install it on your truck. The Morimoto XB LED headlight housing is a complete replacement sealed LED projector headlight for your Ford truck. The new 2018 model year comes in two different types of headlights. They're shaped like this, a slight redesign over the last model, and you can get them in a halogen reflector or an OEM LED sealed unit. Both of those options are compatible to be replaced with the Morimoto XB headlight. These things come with a 5-year warranty. They produce 2,600 raw lumens each, and they're DOT approved. They feature a white daytime running light, a static or sequential amber turn signal, and 4 projectors, 2 for low beam and 2 for high beam. These headlights are currently available for left-hand drive applications only, like what we use in the USA. They're IP67 waterproof rated. The lenses are made of UV resistant high impact polycarbonate, and the light output is created by Osram O-Star LED chips behind Curia Quad Optics. The color of the light is 5500 Kelvin pure white. There's a lot of cool things happening with this headlight. Not only does it look awesome with that blackout finish, the quad projectors, the white daytime running light, and you can also get the matching Morimoto XB projector fog lights, so the entire front of your truck can look blacked out. But the function's incredible. When we drove this thing, we noticed that the beam pattern from left to right was as good or better than any OEM HID projector headlight on the road. You get that crisp cutoff line, you get a really nice wide beam pattern, and the high beam is ridiculous. The high beam is a game changer. This thing is so incredibly bright. It's almost like having a light bar turned on when you flip it to high beam. This thing comes in at 2,600 raw lumens, and it's about double the usable brightness on low beam and high beam. The turn signal has 2 different operations. You've got a normal turn where the entire DRL on the top row turns amber all at once, like this. And by just changing the wiring configuration on the back, you just unplug this set of harnesses, then you get the sequential operation. You've got independent adjustment of the low beam and the HID projectors, so you can really dial in the performance of the lights, and everything's totally plug and play. When you turn these things on, the top 2 projectors illuminate. That gives you your central hot spot on the wall and your left to right spread. Then when you hit the high beams, the bottom 2 projectors turn on, and that's your high beam. So on low beam, it's just the top 2 projectors. On high beam, it's all 4. When we tested the beam pattern and the maximum brightness, we found that the stock reflector headlights came in at a maximum lux of 560 at 25 feet. And then the high beam doubled at 1,210. Then when we tested the Morimoto XB LED headlights, the low beam came in at 1,190 maximum lux, which is double the brightness of stock. And high beam came in at 2,130, which is almost double the brightness of stock. Not only do you get the more appealing beam pattern that's safer for other drivers, but at twice the brightness over stock and more usable light, you can't complain. The OEM LED headlights can be purchased new from your dealership at about $2,000 a set. You can get them on eBay used for about $1,100 a set. So considering the price of the OEM LED headlights and that the Morimoto XB LED headlights are better performers, it's a no-brainer. If you want LED headlight housings, go with the Morimoto over OEM Ford. Now these Morimoto LED headlights truly are plug and play. The beam pattern aiming is really similar. All the connections on the back are really easy to use. You literally take off your old headlights and put the new ones on. It doesn't matter if you have the LED headlights from the factory and you want brighter lights than that, or the reflector halogens like these. Take them off and put the new ones on. In just 1 minute, we're going to show you how to do it step by step, but first I want to show you some things up close. If you look at this top section on the OEM headlight from Ford, the way that you do your adjustment, this is your vertical adjustment, up and down aiming of the headlights. You put a screwdriver in and you turn it, and that raises the beam pattern up and down. If you want to know how to do beam pattern adjustments, we have a video that tells you how to do it step by step and some tips and tricks to get the most performance out of aiming your headlights. The Morimoto headlight has a similar adjustment. You can see back here, you have these bronze colored screws. There's 2 here, and there's 2 here. The top 2 copper screws, here and here, are the adjustments for your low beam. The bottom copper screws, here and here, are for your high beam. Remember, the top 2 projectors are low and the bottom 2 are high. How you do your main adjustment is really similar with a Phillips screwdriver, how you do the original Ford headlight. You have this opening up top, you slide the screwdriver in, you engage the teeth with the gears, and you can turn it left and right, and that adjusts your headlight. You have left and right adjustments and up and down adjustments based on which of the 4 screws you adjust. It might seem like there's a lot going on back here, but trust me, it's a lot easier than it looks. Everything's plug and play. This connection is the one that dictates whether your turn signal is sequential or not. With it unplugged like this, you get that cool sequential turn signal where it goes from one side to the other. If you plug in this connector, you bypass the sequential function and it just goes a solid blink every time. So you get to choose how that's going to get plugged in. Me, I like the sequential. We're going to leave it unplugged. This connector is a dummy. If you unplug this, it's just a plug. There's nothing in it. It's just to keep water out when not in use. You don't ever have to do anything with that. Leave it just the way it is. The next one, next to the dummy plug, is the connector for your daytime running light. This system comes with a T-tap that goes to your fuse box and then a wire that connects here. It's all plug and play. You just got to route the wiring. In a second, in our install, we'll show you how that works. This one right here is for your parking light. You plug that into the T10 bulb that's on the side and that illuminates your amber. And then everything else comes plugged in. If you unplug it, it should only go back in one way. And these last 2, that's all that's left. This one with 3 wires, black, white, and yellow. This is what controls the turn signal function. And this last one with 4 wires, brown, red, black, and gray, that's your headlights. That's your low beam and your high beam. And these are all factory Ford connections. So you plug it in and you go. It's really that simple. If our install video isn't enough, the headlights also come with an absolutely awesome install book. Everything you need to know for the install is covered in either this video or this book.
So we've got our truck pulled in now, and the first thing you need to do is pop the hood. And we've got a ton of plastic clips here that we're going to need to remove to get at our headlights. Take a pry tool, get under the middle section and just pop it up. And you can pry the rest of it out just like so. Now there are a total of 14 clips, and honestly it feels like they're almost endless. You keep finding them as you go across, but as soon as you get them all off, you'll be able to pull this entire plastic cowl off. So we've got the clips all removed, and now you can take this thing and just lift up on it and set it out of the way. So now we need to head over to the wheel wells. We need to pull a total of 4 7mm bolts out of those so that we can get this plastic piece below the grill off. Now over on the passenger side, do the same thing. Same 2 screws. Now the next step is pulling this flare away so that we can get this thing out of here. So reach in and grab the edge of the plastic of the flare, and if you pull it toward you, there's a lot of tension here. It's kind of a tough clip to release. As you can see, both clips stayed in this plastic piece. That's not a big deal. It's actually easier to remove them now than it is to try to get them away with this piece. Not a big deal. We're in good shape. Do the same thing on the passenger side. Now what we're going to do is release this plastic piece, and honestly taking a pry tool or even a screwdriver and just putting it behind there and pushing out helps tremendously to release it from those plastic clips. There we go. And you can just work it all the way across now. Be a good time to get some help just so that you don't drop it or scuff any plastic up. All right, we've got 4 bolts to remove now. There's one here, 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 and here. They're all 10mm bolts. Set those off to the side. Now we've got 2 plastic clips, one right here and one right here. And with a pry tool, you can just get those guys out of there. And finally, on this particular truck, we've got 2 different connectors to unplug right here. One's for an active air dam and one's for another sensor. Let's go ahead and press in on that. Now the grill can come off. To get the grill off this F-150, all you need to do is grab onto it up here and pull it toward you. It'll pop free just like so. You can actually grab in this honeycomb gently and help it past this little rubber seal on the bottom. Go ahead and set it off to the side. And if you're with me still, you made it this far, the rest is easy. We got one more little plastic guy here that needs to come off before this headlight will come out. And you can get under it with a pry tool, pry it up, set it off to the side. There are 2 10mm bolts on the top of the headlight housing. Go ahead and remove those. So now we're working below the headlight, and we've got an 8mm bolt right here, we've got a 10mm bolt right here, and we've got 2 more 10mm bolts on the side of the headlight here. So starting with the 8 in the front here, pull that off, switch back to a 10. So take your pry tool and just get below the headlight here and just pry this little air duct down. And as long as you do that, you'll be able to lift this headlight right up and out of here. Really is that easy. Go ahead and disconnect your factory wire harness. Just press in on the tab and remove it. And we've got one more right here, this little T10 marker light. And that pulls off just the same way. Now we can get rid of this headlight. So we've got a bracket that we need to remove from the original headlight, and it's a black plastic bracket on the bottom of the headlight. You need a T25 Torx bit. There are 3 screws on the bottom. And then you just pry it up and lift it toward the front of the headlight. It should pop right off. Just like that. And now we're finally done with the factory headlight. So, bring in the Morimoto XB LED headlight. Put this same bracket back on the way it came off. Line up the screw holes on the bottom and reinstall those 3 Torx screws. There we have it. Now I know you're dying to get your headlights finally installed, but there's one thing we need to do before we do that. Inside the box that your headlights came in, you're going to find a fuse tap harness, and there's 2 plugs on it. One goes to your right side headlight, the other one goes to your left side headlight. One's shorter than the other, so make sure you get that right. And these just plug into the back of the headlight, and we need to attach this end to the fuse box right here. The instructions on the fuse tap are very straightforward, so good job whoever designed those. Tells you the fuse you need to tap into, the color, the amperage, everything. Some of these kits and some of these instructions are a little lacking, so that's really nice. So pop the lid off. We're working on fuse number 36. It's this 10 amp red fuse right here. It's surrounded by a 20 amp yellow fuse and a 25 amp clear or white fuse right here. So pull that 10 out. I honestly just grabbed a pair of needle nose pliers for that. It makes it really easy. Set that off to the side. We won't be needing it. And take your fuse tap and install that into that same slot that fuse came out of. It just presses right in like so. It's going to look like this when you're done. And honestly, it's that easy. What we're doing here is just supplying our DRL circuit with ignition power. And you'll see why we do that in just a second here. So route it just down like this and put the lid back on. That's all there is to it. It's going to take a little effort to get the lid to close back down because you're kind of closing it onto a wire. You could definitely notch the plastic if you want. It's up to you. So with our fuse box right here, you need to connect one of these plugs to this headlight, and this one's already installed. I'm showing you guys what we're doing on the driver's side. Take your extra leg of that harness, and honestly, I just ran it down here right alongside the front of this radiator. You can lift up on this air intake and just tuck it below that. Reach up here and just hand yourself the wire. Pull it through like this. As you can see, we've got plenty of slack. And now we have everything we need to get these headlights plugged in and working. So the moment we've all been waiting for, you can finally get this thing installed here. Honestly, the way the headlight ships is pretty much ready to go. Pretty plug and play. You can plug this connector in. Chris already went over this in the tabletop review. This is for your sequential or non-sequential turn signal. We're gonna leave it just like it is. This is your plug for that T10 marker light that the original headlight had. So we can go ahead and plug that in right now. Should clip together real nice, and it does. This is for our ignition activated DRL. That's that fuse tap harness that we just ran. Go ahead and plug that in. And then down here we've got two plugs. We've got our original turn signal plug going to this one here. And then this 4-pin plug right here is for our low beam and our high beam. So with all those nice and secure, go ahead and tuck the wiring back behind the headlight and just reinstall it. There's plenty of room. It honestly fits in just like the factory headlight did. We've been running with these for a couple weeks now, just trying them out, testing them. And they're just like the original thing. There it is. So we can throw some bolts in this thing and we're all set. We can pull this outside. We're gonna drive it tonight and show you guys what it looks like on the road, and more importantly, how much brighter it is compared to the stock headlights.
These are the headlights that we're putting on our 18 Ford F-150, and if you know it's good for you, you should too. Please check out our other videos if you want to see other 18 and up Ford F-150 lighting products, installs, reviews, and comparisons. And we're not done. Subscribe so you don't miss our next Ford F-150 lighting video.